Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Scientology Stories, Peeling the Onion. My name is Mark Fisher, and it's good to see you all here again. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. And my guest will be with us shortly, and I'll add her into the live stream here in a second. But anyway, I just wanted to welcome you all to our show. Janice is up in San Jose, California this weekend, and she's up there for the premiere of Jeff and Robbie Levin's documentary about their life in as a band in the 1960s and as musicians and their life in Scientology. Jeff getting into Scientology and Robbie not staying in it, and they were disconnected several times. So anyway, it should be interesting documentary. They're having the premiere at a film festival in San Jose tomorrow, Sunday night. And so that should be interesting. And she's there, and she's already met with people like Hannah Eltringham and another friend of hers from the Apollo, Sandy Barnes, Sandy Holman. And so anyway, so that's all good. Anyway, in the meantime, how about getting into the chat? Let me know where you're from, where you're watching from. I see that we got somebody from Atlanta, and I think I saw somebody here from, where are we at here? Greece, California, and Pennsylvania, and where else is everybody from? They're all saying hi to Goldie. Hi, Goldie. It's good to see you. Bakersfield, California is in the house, and Oklahoma's in here. We want to welcome you. Anybody else in here that wants another Atlanta? Germany is in here. Pretoria, South Africa. That's pretty cool. And somebody's watching from Georgia, and Lincoln, California. Anyway, for Hollywood, Florida's in the house. I'm really happy that everybody's in here. Ottawa, New York City, Salt Lake City. Welcome to the channel. In the meantime, while we're waiting for our guest, I just wanted to mention, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. Hit that like button. It definitely helps the algorithm and helps us get stuff out there. We went over 7,200 subscribers yesterday. And we'll just keep building the channel and building the network. So if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, it's real easy. Just click that subscribe button, or you can go to our channel at Mark Fisher and Janice Gillum Grady on YouTube, and that's where you go to join or subscribe or whatever. The other thing I wanted to mention too is, if you would like, you can become a member of our channel by clicking on join on our channel homepage, and that will allow you to get in there. And we've got several perks, different levels. We've added quite a few members, and we really appreciate the support that you're giving. And we're going to be doing our first one-on-one with our peeling masters starting tomorrow. And throughout this next week, everybody who's now a peeling master, Janice and I are going to be doing one-on-one live streams with them, just to get to know you a little bit better and to get to know us a little bit better too. So we're excited about that. So if you're interested, go ahead and hit that join button and follow the instructions there, and we'll go from there. Anyway, and hope Goldie had her birthday, I think, a few days ago, and everybody wants to wish her a happy birthday. I see Maharaba in Espanol is in the house. Thank you so much. Thanks for checking here. And let's see, I just saw a comment here. I like that particular shirt, Hawaiian shirt, Mark. It looks very nice on me. Oh, thank you very much, Mary. I appreciate that. She's a member of our channel too. Anyway, if you guys, when Karen's going to be on here shortly, and when she does, then we've got a story we're going to talk about and all that. But if you have questions, go ahead and get in the chat. We're going to answer questions as well. So we'll do a live stream question and answer. So if you would, please, if you want to put questions in there, just write the word question in before, so we can start. It's just me supervising this right now, and I'll star them, and we'll get to the questions and answers after that. And so we're looking forward to that, and we're doing the live stream here. And I see that Karen is just about ready to join us here, and I will add her into the stream as soon as she's set up here. And we want to welcome everybody, like I said before. And I think Karen is ready now, so I'm going to go ahead and add her. I'm going to introduce my guest, my special guest. She's a longtime friend of mine. I've known her since the late 1970s, and she's very familiar to a lot of viewers on here. And her name is Karen de la Carriere. And please welcome Karen. Hi, Karen. Can you hear me okay?
Mhm.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, I just went ahead and got started while you were getting set up, and I went ahead and went through the business of our channel, getting people to subscribe,
Great,
that sort of thing. How are
great.
you doing today, Karen?
Good, good. Hello, everybody. Mark Fisher and I have an extraordinary connection. He was exiting the cult prison program called RPF, and I was entering the RPF. And he and his dear twin Stacy, in fact, I replaced Stacy as the MAA, Master of the Ethics Officer. And what was your post that you were exiting, Mark?
Well, I
In the
was the
RPF?
bosun. I
The
was in charge
bosun.
of the
Yeah, you were in charge of the whole shebang. How extraordinary. Who would think that two people, love you, Goldie, love you. Who would think that two people who were in this, God, of course, the RPF was a little milder then than it is, then it became worse and worse and worse, right?
Yes.
Hey, Mary Clan, hi. So, my God, we met by being exchanged prisoners.
Yeah.
That's how far back Mark and I go. My goodness. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And of course, I worked with Miscavige for after the
Yes.
RPF, and then you obviously you worked with your husband Heber at the time, and I remember I think towards the end when I was getting ready to leave, weren't you sent to the decks at the same time up at the Gold Base? I think you remember telling me the story about your fingernails were. They were working you. You were losing your fingernails or something. Can you tell that story?
Gary Moorhead, uh, he got a, David Miscavige came to him and said, "You work Karen Chench's manicured fingernails to the bone." No, the Uplands Dex was some years and years later. That was years later. That wasn't
Absolutely.
that was, yeah. Anyway, we are long-term ex-members, and
Yeah, here's a picture of us from this is probably about 10, 15 years ago when I was out in LA visiting you. You sent me this picture, and that's the two of us. I was several pounds heavier there, but no, it's a good photograph of you and me.
actually, that was taken. Do you remember there was an indie reunion in Texas?
Oh, that's right. So that was
Yeah,
2010. That was
yeah,
2010 then. That was 13 years
yeah.
ago.
13
That's
years
right.
ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, so we've been good friends for a long time. Karen, is there a way you can move a little closer to the camera?
Sure.
So people can see you a little bit better? There you
Yeah.
go. That's
Is
better.
that
There
better?
you go.
Yeah,
That is better.
yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead, Karen, and get started. Are you ready?
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay, great. Yeah, basically, what we're here to talk about, it's a very emotional subject for the two of us, and also for other families and stuff who have been involved with Scientology or have family members that were in Scientology and they were never in. And it has to do with the way Scientology handles and treats families. And I wanted to show, Karen, you sent me a couple things here from the Scientology website about how they handle family and children. And I wanted to show some of that. Is that okay?
Of course.
All right. So we've got the Scientology. This is from the Scientology website, scientology.org. Okay. And we took a few screenshots here. And the first one is Scientology, your personalized experience, how to raise a happy family. And it says 4 ways to get started. Number 1, free online course. Number 2, take a personality test. Number 3, find your nearest church. And number 4, read a book, of course, right? And so we took a screenshot here, and this is practical tools for a thriving family. The best way to find out how Scientology can help you raise a happy family is to visit a church of Scientology. Scientology is worldwide. It offers practical tools, real solutions you won't find anywhere else. There are services you can take based on your interests. One service is having a happy baby course. Then another one is successfully raising children course. And the third one here is successfully parenting tweens and teens course. Okay. And then let me show you, this is one of the course descriptions. It says, on this course, you will learn what children need most from their parents. 2, why children get angry and how to swiftly handle the upsets. And 3, exact tools you can use in raising your children to be happy, healthy, intelligent, and self-confident in life. And Karen, go ahead. I know you want to make some comments on this, because this is what Scientology is basically showing, that they're the experts on family and children, but that's not quite right. Isn't that right?
Absolute propaganda, absolute nonsense, codswallop. In Scientology, Scientology is a love only me, or love me first. All parents and all children are indoctrinated to snitch on each other and report anything and everything to the mother church. Everyone tattletales and writes reports. It's beyond belief. There is no such thing as love of your friend. You love only the cult, and you prioritize your life. People know the story of my son, Alexander, who was dead at 27 years old, born and raised in the cult. One of my worst things was bringing a child into the world in a cult, and I find it hard to forgive myself for that. Alexander was dead at 27 due to the no mercy vengefulness of the cult, who cut him off from me. And when he was really ill with walking pneumonia, he didn't have money for medical, and he took opioids to handle chest pain. When Jeffrey and I went to the coroner, some of you have heard this story, the coroner said, you know, Karen, a $20 antibiotic could have saved his life. It was just a bacteria. But the cult in vengeance, pay her back, badmouth her, say she was a terrible mother, blah, blah, blah. They kept Alexander indoctrinated and gaslighted so that he could not talk to me. He was unable to pick up the phone and talk to me. I would have gotten him the best medical of all. So I've continued to say the cult has blood on its hands, but my story is only one of 100,000 stories. There is no mercy in the cult. There is no love in the cult. This is a punishment cult. Management by punishment and humiliation. This isn't a cult to increase and enhance love. This is a cult of domination to whip you downward. Mark?
Exactly right. As a matter of fact, that the word love doesn't even really exist in Hubbard's writings. I mean, it's affinity, right? Or ARC or whatever, that sort of thing, right? And that was one of the things that I didn't realize until after I left Scientology and I reconnected with my father several years later. And he told me, you know what was missing in Scientology? I said, what? He said the love, the concept of love. It's not there. It's not love yourself, love others, you know what I mean? And that type of thing. And it's completely missing. And I totally agree with you. Scientology family members are considered, you're just there to raise them up if you have a child. They're going to be future Scientology Sea Org members or Scientology staff. And, you shouldn't have any connection with your family other than just you're helping to raise them, which is complete malarkey, the fact of the matter is that's the closest bond that you have is with your children and with your mother, your father, your sister, and your brother. But that's not the way it is in Scientology. Okay. And it's very vengeful and very, very vindictive and also very heartless too. Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah. On the Apollo, where we lived with Hubbard and his 4 children, Diana, Suzette, Arthur, and Quentin, he never took one day off for family day. He never spent a day off with his children, ever. See, he was setting an example. People tried to emulate Hey, Michael. People tried to emulate Hubbard. Hubbard never took a day off with his children. He would have evening dinner with Mary Sue Hubbard, but he didn't even have dinner with his kids ever in years.
Yeah, and Karen, I was going to say the same thing. He's supposed to be the paragon of family and the second dynamic and all that. Yet he was married to 3 times. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
His second wife, he was married while he was still married to his first wife. And
Mm-hmm.
I learned all this out after I read Barefaced Messiah by Russell Miller, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that he was married to his first wife. He had 2 children with her. He was a complete deadbeat dad. He didn't pay for any of the childcare. And meanwhile, he goes running off with a second wife, has another child. And then eventually he disowns her and says,
Yes.
"Oh, I was never married to her. And oh, that's not really my child. That was somebody else's child," And I could never understand, because I had to deal. I loved Suzette. I loved Diana, was nice and all that, right? But their relationship with their father, L. Ron Hubbard, was terrible. He treated. I couldn't believe the way that he treated his own children as they grew up, and Quentin. I never knew Quentin, but I mean, that's a horrible story too. So, the fact that he's held up as some virtuous person on the matter of family is just a joke.
Well spoken, Mark. There's this little anecdote. I did not eyewitness it, but your co-host, Janice Grady, tells the story beautifully in one of her books. Hubbard had these young messengers, young, energetic, beautiful girls who in those days you couldn't instant message, you couldn't even email. And when you're on a ship which has layers of decks, you got to run up and down to find someone. You got to have a lot of energy to run up and down those flights of stairs to a lower deck. And the messengers were his instant messaging. The messengers were his email, and they would arrive straight from him to give you the message. Now, Hubbard got angry with Diana, his eldest daughter, beautiful girl. And he ordered one of his messengers, Jill Goodman, to take off her shoe and throw it in Diana's face. He was pissed off with her.
I remember that story.
Yeah. Your shoe is what collects all the bacteria and stuff you tread on. Your shoe, outer layer of your shoe is completely unclean. And she obediently took off her shoe and threw it in Diana's face. Being that she had the status of a messenger, this was like, oh, she knew it came from Hubbard. Yeah. Mary Sue Hubbard happened to be walking by. The messengers sat outside Hubbard's office waiting for the next order or command. And so it was all, Mary Sue's office was near Hubbard's office. She went ballistic to have her beautiful elder daughter have a messenger's shoe thrown in her face. Now, I just go into that incident to just, when we say no love, we show that it's excruciatingly Hubbard set an example of no mercy, and this has been documented over and over again. No mercy. You show toughness. You show punishment. You crack a whip and you obey. That was Hubbard's attitude.
Anyway, and then the other thing too is Scientology is all about communication. Okay, basically, communication is the universal solvent. L. Ron Hubbard says, right? Any problems that exist between somebody can be sorted out through communication, and yet they don't apply it to family members or to people. They just disconnect from them, okay? And they're supposed to be super beings, right? Or OTs or whatever you want to call them. And yet they can't confront or talk to a family member who is not in Scientology or who's no longer in Scientology. As a matter of fact, we have a really blatant example for you as well as for me, Karen, where when Alexander passed away, they didn't even communicate to you directly to let you know that your son had died. Is that right?
You know, I've told the story before, but I found out that my beautiful child, my one and only child, died, and his body was lying in the morgue down the road in Los Angeles by an instant message from Aaron Smith-Levin, whom I didn't even know. Now we're good friends, but I didn't even know him at the time.
I
So
have the
this
messages.
was,
Do you want me to put them up?
yeah, this was a Facebook message from a stranger. Go ahead and read it.
Yeah, on the left is the first messages from Aaron Smith-Levin, and like Karen said, she didn't even know Aaron at the time, and he wasn't out. I think he was under the radar because he says that later on. He wasn't the Aaron Smith-Levin that we all know now, right? But he said, Karen, I was just informed by Andrea Gentz that she found out on Tuesday that her husband died. Wasn't Andrea married to Alexander? Is it possible she was remarried and was not referring to Alex? Andrea lives outside Dallas. Was Alex living in LA or could he have been in Dallas? Aaron, that was the message you got, Karen. And then your response is in the blue, which says, Aaron, thank you. Need confirmation. Please help me. Facebook message Andrea or call her. Get more data. Heber Jentz is 78 years old. Is it possible that's who died? Alexander is only in his 20s. Please help me by getting more information. Much love, Karen. And then this was Aaron's response back to your message. I have confirmed it with Andrea. Alex had a very high fever on Monday night. He went to sleep on Monday night and died in his sleep. They do not know yet what the exact cause was. He was at his wife's parents' house in Los Angeles, perhaps on business. His wife, Andrea, was in Texas. She found out on Tuesday that Alex died. She flew to LA today. I would be grateful if you could keep my name out of any communication on subject, though. I'm under the radar. The matter is supposed to be kept hush-hush. So Aaron was not out, like he was not the Aaron he is now. But that's how you found out, right?
Yeah, I couldn't, when you hear of a sudden death, 27-year-olds don't go to bed and wake up dead. I immediately thought there's a mix-up in name. It must be Heber, who's 78. It couldn't be Alexander. And it was, we called the coroner and we found out that his dead body was lying there. And of course, I was completely siphoned off. No matter what I tried before they cremated the body, we went down, we found out the body had moved to the mortuary for cremation. I was not allowed to have a last look. I remember almost crying outside the wall. I knew he was, when we were at the cremation mortuary, there was just a wall and his body was just the other side of the wall, but Scientology made quite sure, out of vengefulness. Look, I was in the cult 40 years, Mark. 40 years of my life.
Yeah.
20 years as a slave, counseling and giving them. I would win a War Auditor of the Year. I would win L. Ron Hubbard autographed e-meters. I was a golden girl, flown all over the world. I want to tell you a little anecdote. Thank you, Michael. I would tell you a little anecdote. One day somebody asked me, what is the hardest thing that you had to do in Scientology? What was one of the most difficult? And I thought about it. And I recalled that I was in St. Louis, Missouri, doing a tour to promote the Scientology L rundowns so that people would go to Flag and give them good money to have this counseling. And St. Louis, Missouri is cold in November. And there was like 10 minutes for me to go on stage to give the speech. And I got a rush message, Karen, the AG wants to see you. The AG is the assistant guardian. Nowadays, we call them the DSA. They're the OSA arm in any particular org. In those days, it was the Guardian Office extended arm. So I went and saw the DSA, and the DSA said, I know you've only got 10 minutes to go on. I want to tell you that your son is dead. And the reason I'm telling you is you might get questions from the audience because it's going over the wires right now. The Daily Mail is covering it. And the hardest thing in the world for me was to have perfect composure 10 minutes before I had to go on to brief the world of the goodness of Scientology, having been told 10 minutes earlier that he was dead. That was the hardest, because you have to suppress and compress personal feelings. One of my cats. I have 3 cats. Anyway.
Yeah, no case on post, no HE&R, human emotion and reaction. That's how you were trained in Scientology as an auditor as well as an executive, right, Karen?
Right, Mark. I couldn't. You would think I would have burst into tears. You would think I would have sobbed. I could not. I was frozen. People react differently, but I was completely numb. He was my only child. Heber and I petitioned. We have to petition in the church to have another child. You are so controlled that you have to beg. Is it okay if I get pregnant? You have to send that to senior management. And we attached all our production statistics, proof of how much, and it came back denied. So I was never allowed to have a second child. Alexander was my one and only child. And he was dead and gone.
Yeah.
John Travolta was friends with Heber. I snapped these pictures when John was visiting Heber in his office. And I've got several of them.
Yeah,
anyway,
John's sweet. John's a really sweet person.
Oh, he's darling.
Anybody knows. He was my favorite celebrity I ever met. He's just an awesome person. He's caught up in Scientology, unfortunately, but he just as a person, he has a really good heart.
John Travolta is a darling, absolute sweetheart. I don't think you'd find, even Mike Rinder and other ones who really know him have said so. Yeah. You would find it hard to be critical of John. He's just duped. He's just completely gaslighted, and he believes. Yeah. Of course,
he's different than Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is complete buddy of David Miscavige and knows everything that's going on. Miscavige talks to him all the time. Travolta's not that connected. He never was really. He just was being a celebrity, doing his thing, and he basically, to be honest, has his head in the stand because he doesn't want to know. I mean, that's what he says. But Tom Cruise knows what's going on, and yet he forges ahead. And there's a difference between the two of them.
Well, these guys are simply pampered beyond belief. Oh, I forgot to put this light on. No wonder I looked. I don't know how to. I don't know how to do it. You look good. Okay. So, may I tell you, can I just, you see, there are different versions of Scientology, different versions, different editions. When you're public, you experience a public version. Mm-hmm. When you're staff in a class 5 org, that's a different experience. When you're Sea Org, you you're considered Scientology clergy, and
Yeah.
you are thwapped and dominated and ruled and micromanaged, and you do what I say or else.
Yep.
It's the kind of thing. So now there's one level even above those three versions, and that's the celebrity version. And they are pampered. You know, were you at In Base when the flowers? Tom Cruise had a whimsical thought. He thought, oh, it would be so lovely to hold Nicole's hand and walk through the meadows of daisies. And he just had a sort of a calendar snapshot in his head. Well, Sea Org members had to be up all night digging the lawns to put in flowers so that Tom Cruise, who was arriving tomorrow, could walk through some beautiful flowers holding Nicole's hand.
Yeah,
But-
that happened right after I left.
But they planted the wrong flower. So
Ah.
they had to pull out all the, this is all night, no sleep. Make the Sea Org slaves do what you order, whether sleep deprived, food deprived, whatever, to pamper a celebrity. How is this a billion-year contract to pamper celebrities? Isn't
Yeah.
this supposed to be a religious commitment?
Yep.
The Sea Org is you do what you're ordered to do. Shall I throw in a John Travolta anecdote?
Yeah, quickly, and then I'll go on to the rest of the story.
Let me put that right at the end. Your story is very important. Please go ahead.
So anyway, Karen and I have a similar. Is that your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Karen and I unfortunately have a related stories. Okay, regarding death of family members. Okay, this is my sister, my older sister. Her name was Betsy Fisher. Okay. And she was a public Scientologist. And this is a picture here. This is my mother on the left, Lois, my brother, my younger brother. And then that's me in the middle in the black shirt. And then my sister, Betsy, she was my older sister by 2 years on the right. Okay. And this is us when we were, family in the early 60s, right? And then this is a picture of me on the left there, obviously, and my sister on the right. This is when I was in the Sea Organization. I actually was on a vacation, and you can see my clear bracelet on my right arm, and that's my sister with her dog, right? And her and her husband got involved in Scientology through my dad, of course, same time as I did, and they became public Scientologists, and they were public Scientologists for quite some time, meaning they never joined staff. She was not able to join staff, for whatever reason, but she was a piano teacher. She studied concert piano at Syracuse University, and she taught piano to many, many kids over the years, right? And she became a Scientologist, a public Scientologist. Anyway, she got married, and this is her and her husband, Betsy, and her husband's name is Mark Perkins. Okay, and he was also a Scientology public, and then their adopted son Nicholas with them. And this is my sister on the left, obviously, in that. Anyway, they were both patrons of the International Association of Scientologists, and were well-to-do and did well in Scientology and outside, right? At any rate, long story short, my sister, when I left the Sea Organization in 1990, I ended up at her house the second time I escaped because I didn't know where to go, and they lived in the Hollywood Hills, so I went there, and I went to sleep, and by the time I woke up, Mike Sutter from Religious Technology Center had been sent and with security to take me back to the Gold Base. And so when I woke up, he was there. And my sister had they had either contacted her or she contacted them to come and get me, right? So obviously when I left, my sister disconnected from me, okay, and would no longer talk to me. She also had been disconnected from my father, who left Scientology 10 years earlier, and my younger brother, who had just done, basic communication course in Scientology. So she disconnected from my brother, my father, and from me. Okay. And then that was it. So my mother had never been involved in Scientology whatsoever. So she had a relationship with my mother, and I basically did not want to ruin my mother's relationship with her daughter, Betsy. So I never told my mother what happened to me while I was in Scientology. I didn't want to tell her any bad things because she wanted to still have a relationship with my sister and their young son and her husband, right? Well, around 2009, okay, I started speaking out on the internet, and OSA, Office of Special Affairs, got my sister to contact my mother and basically say, look what Mark's doing on the internet. You need to, make a decision. You either need to disconnect from Mark, or I'm going to basically disconnect from you. Okay. And now my mother at the time was 83 years old. She's going to be 93 next year, and she's still alive. And I still look after her here in Las Vegas. Right. So what's my mother supposed to do? She's supposed to decide to stick with me or stick with her daughter. And she basically said, I'm not going to make a decision like that. That has nothing to do with me. Right. Well, my sister didn't like that, so she disconnected from my mother as well. Okay. So what happened after that is she was disconnected from my mother. And then in 2011, okay, she got sick with colon cancer, and she died in November of 2011. All right. And they didn't bother to tell anybody in our family that my sister had died. Okay. I found out 6 months later, just by surfing through Facebook. I saw that she was a friend of somebody who had left Scientology. So I looked at my sister's Facebook page, and everybody was talking about her in the past tense, like she was no longer there. So I searched back on her timeline, and I found out that in November of 2011 that she had passed away, and had no idea, and nobody had contacted us. So I called my brother, and he looked up, to find out, and he found the death certificate, And so my sister's husband didn't contact us. Nobody contacted us. So we had one of our cousins who had never been in Scientology call her husband and find out what happened. And he basically wouldn't give her much details other than she had died of colon cancer. And that was it. So they never bothered to tell us what had happened. And this is my sister here. She was born in 1956. She died in 2011. And that's her with one of her dogs. This is about 6 months before she passed away. And so we never heard anything from Scientology. We never heard anything from his family, okay, which I was close to him, and my mother was close to his family and to him. And they basically didn't tell us anything. Why? Why did they do that? Because I was no longer a Scientologist, because I started speaking out, telling about the abuses of David Miscavige. Okay. And so therefore they had to, based on L. Ron Hubbard policy, disconnect from my mother, who had nothing to do with Scientology. Okay. They're supposed to be the great communicators. Communication's the universal solvent. They didn't communicate anything to us. Okay. And the heartbreak is I had to tell my mother that she had died 6 months before. And I broke her heart. I'm sorry, I got to get my TRs in.
Take your time, Mark.
And not show any HCNR, because that's what Scientology tells you to do. And it's still, this happened, 12 years ago? And it still hurts just to even think about it. Okay. So this is the heartlessness of Scientology that we're talking about here. There's no reason for this whatsoever. My mother did nothing to her and did nothing to Scientology. Me speaking out was the right thing to do. They didn't have to penalize me. I understood what my sister was doing, right? But they had to go after my family and go after my mother. So anyway, that's that story. And I'm sorry that I had to share it, and I'm sorry that I cried, but that's what happened in Scientology. Karen?
Thank you for sharing that, Mark. Thank you. It is heart-wrenching, but I want to roll that back to why would they do this? Can you see how cruel this is? Mark had a mom. She never was a Scientologist. She never had anything to do with Scientology. But she was penalized. She was made to choose between her children because Scientology was going to show vengeance. Scientology was going to act punitive to Mark for speaking out and even punish his mom, who had nothing to do with any of this. She was a wonderful, great old lady who had caught in the crossfire. So Scientology, that touts itself as family experts, they're going to teach you how to have a happy family. Actually, they are destroyers of families. They destroy and slice family bonds. And heaven help you if you're in the Sea Org. They've sort of altered their tune a little bit in recent years, just in recent years. But you wouldn't even be allowed to go to a funeral.
No.
Now I'm going to tell you, like, Mike Rinder had a baby with Kathy Rinder that was stillborn.
Right.
And he wanted to fly from Base to Florida it was a child of his. And Miss Gavage, get back on post and don't be soppy about, and he was not allowed to even hold this child one last time. I know all this because I was summoned and briefed about this and told, get Kathy Rinder in session and handle her side of the thing. So if you have a child, you're not even allowed to fly out on a death issue.
Right.
Just look at the way Scientology thinks. The obsession is to expand. It's obscene. It's just, there's some obscenity. There's something so dark and devious and horrible here. It's despicable, deplorable that Scientology statistics are way more important than having those treasured moments of love and connection.
And Karen, we've got one more example of this, okay? That's, people will know who this is, okay? And this is Annie Broker, okay? She was the woman who spent more time with Hubbard than anybody else ever, okay? She was one of the original Commodore's messengers, okay, on the flagship Apollo. That's Annie standing behind L. Ron Hubbard when she was probably 12, 13 years old on the flagship. Her and Janice Gillen Grady, and Terry Gamboa and Claire Popham, they were the original messengers with Hubbard, okay? And she was with him for the final 6 years of his life. This is Annie when she was married to Charlie Rush, okay? This is at her wedding day, right? And she spent, the last 6 years of Hubbard's life taking care of him, day in and day out, cooking for him, getting his laundry done, driving his motorhome around, doing whatever. Meanwhile, she also was helping with some of the church, the religious technology stuff and all that. But basically, she was with Hubbard to the end, and she had to see him, go through his strokes and he was hard to deal with. And we covered all of that in our last couple of videos, right? Anyway, she passed away in 2011, right, Karen?
Can I just give
yeah.
a little? Do you know how Annie died?
Go
Scientology
ahead.
owns an apartment building directly opposite Celebrity Center on Bronson Avenue. It's diagonally opposite. And she was shoved into an apartment there all alone to die. They didn't want her dying at Base. She was part of the hierarchy crew when she, when after Hubbard died, she did a long RPF of 3 years. She was brainwashed. But it it's embarrassing for them to have people die at Int Base. So she was put in this apartment, and in her last final weeks, she was given a touch assist, a Scientology touch assist. And that was all she got. And then she died after serving 45 years of her life serving Scientology. She actually escaped, she fled, and Marty Rathman got her back. Do you know that story, Mark?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead. You might as well tell.
Well, she was married, or she was going to get married to a guy named Jim Logan, who was a Sea Org member at the Gold Base. And I don't know that Jim basically blew, and he left, and he was in Boston, Massachusetts, and he got a hold of Annie, and he got her. She blew, and she took off, and he bought her a ticket to fly from LA to Boston. That could not happen. Miscavige would not let that happen. So Marty Rathman and I forget who else, they got a hold of John Travolta and borrowed John Travolta's private jet to fly to Boston to intercept her at the airport before her commercial flight had landed. And then when her flight had landed, they met her as she came off the plane, and she knew it was over. They basically got her and said, you need to come back. And they turned her around and got her on the plane and flew her back to the Gold Base to continue her life as a prisoner. And she never reconnected with her husband at that time, Jim Logan. And, that's how much Miscavige needed and wanted to keep her under control and keep her under guard.
Nobody at Int Base was told she was dead.
No.
There was no memorial. There was no celebration of life. There was no ceremony. There was no funeral ceremony, nothing. She became a non-person. And
yeah, and also we were told too the other day is that they used to collect money from the Gold Crew for birthdays for David Miscavige and Annie, and they continued to collect money from the Gold Crew after she had passed away for a birthday gift for her. Like you said, they didn't tell anybody that she had died. And then this was looked up by whatever genealogy. This is when she died and all the information stuff. She died from cancer. But can I tell the story that Janice, what happened with Janice?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So basically, Janice was the one, I guess, who found out that she had passed away. And I think, did Jeffrey help her find the information?
Jeffrey had to find the death certificate. That was the actual death certificate is different than the one you showed. Jeffrey found it. But yeah, Jeffrey found the death certificate. Are you going to go into her 90-year-old mother who would conclude what?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So basically, Janice found out about this, and Janice was in touch with Annie's family, her family. She had sisters and her mother. Her mother was like in her 90s or whatever. She was no longer a Scientologist. She had an older sister, Nancy, who had been in the Sea Org member and Scientologist. And then another one, sister Donna, who's actually a member of our channel and that type of thing. Anyway, they didn't know that Annie had died. And this was like months after she had died. And Janice had to contact them and let them know that their sister Annie had passed away. And again, nobody bothered to tell the family or the staff or anybody. It was just swept under the rug. And it's completely cruel. I mean, there is no reason for that whatsoever. And it just shows you under Miscavige and Hubbard's direction that how vicious they are towards families. There's no reason for that.
They wanted disconnection even after death.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty despicable while they try to pump and sell online how to have a happy marriage, how to have a happy family, how to raise a happy family.
How to raise a happy family. So it's a bunch of BS.
Hogwash. Again, I will repeat, Scientology destroys families. Scientology makes every effort to destroy the family bond. And because they try to sell you this Superman, Superwoman status, give us your money, give us your cash. We will make you an extraordinary transformed human being. I think they're just embarrassed when people like Annie die in their 50s. They were in Scientology their whole life. The amount of OT8s that have died of cancer is just a huge. I wish I'd sent you the list. They did everything Scientology requested. All the L's up to OT8, dead as a doornail.
Well, and it's the same thing with my sister. She died of colon cancer, we found out. And that's one of the most treatable cancers that there is. Okay. And, she wouldn't go through the treatments or whatever. It wasn't found out about because Scientologists don't go to the doctor. They think that if they get processing or auditing, it's going to cure it. And there's many, many Scientologists that have believed that, and they're no longer with us. There is science involved with doctors, and they know how to treat some of the stuff. And, the Scientologists don't listen to it. It's just a bunch of bunk, it's just really sad.
They have one of Florida's top 5 hospitals, top 10 hospitals, called Morton Plant, walking distance from the Fort Harrison. You could walk, it's 5 blocks, but if you can run, I used to visit, and that's off limits, banned. It could have saved Lisa McPherson's life, but they are so spiteful and vengeful that they have banned the state-of-the-art hospital, Morton Plant, walking distance, spitting distance from the Scientology Hub campus. And they would rather someone die than go to a hospital of which they have bad blood.
Yeah.
Go figure.
And let me say what I'm just going to repeat the message that Janice has been repeating to family members or anybody who's watching our channel, or Scientologists that are watching under the radar, or OSA members or anything like that. Communicate, okay? Follow what you're supposed to do. Communicate. Janice and Terry were able to get their father out of Scientology. Why? Because they were able to communicate with him and basically show him what all of his money he'd been donating, what David Miscavige, OSA, and Scientology were doing. And he was funding all the private investigators that were trying to destroy them. And they got him out, okay? And he reconnected. And, like Janice says, even if you write them a letter or send them a check that they had, if they cast the check, that at least they got it, right? Because Scientology can't do that, right? Just keep reaching out. Janice told the story about Annie, where she would send her a birthday card every year after she left the Sea Org, after Janice left the Sea Org, every year, just to keep that communication line in. Whether Annie got them or not, who knows? But, it helps. It's a way of reaching out, and you never know when it's going to happen, but it does happen. Karen, do you have anything else you want to say on that?
Yes, that's good advice. Very good advice. Of course, because Scientology is so monitored, they have someone in a certain division of Scientology open all the mail. And the mail is scrutinized to see that, a birthday card would be an innocent thing enough. But they want to be absolutely sure that mail in and mail. You can't just tell a family member that you're going through a rough time. There's somebody listening in on any phone call. First of all, you have to get permission to call your mom, permission to call your dad. And then when you get permission, you have someone from this division called HCO, Hubbard Communication Office, and they're listening in to ensure that you don't say anything negative. Oh, you'll be in trouble. Oh, you would be in trouble if you gave anything negative. So the control is such a word to be used. It's hilarious that they have a program calling me the controlled opposition. Scientology is the poster child of control. You can't have a baby. You can't have an annual leave. You can't write a letter which isn't screwed. You are controlled down to the last breath you take.
Yeah.
And if you don't toe the line, punishments escalate.
Yep.
Scientology is the ultimate control. None
I
of
was
this
going to,
is in their propaganda online. You're not made aware of any of this. Did I interrupt you,
no.
Mark?
No, Karen, I was just going to say Goldie has a great comment here, which is that OSA, look around. Where are the elderly Sea Org or ex-Sea Org? Where are they? I guess you've been told they're being well looked after. They're not. They're living in squalor, and that will be you too. Meaning you stick around long enough, and that's what's going to happen to you. So, OSA, Scientology staff, anybody who's watching these videos, think again, okay? There's help out here. The Aftermath Foundation exists to help you if you want to leave and you have nowhere of going or anything to do. And there's other people that will help you. Janice and I have helped people, and Karen's helped people. So, if you're thinking about it, now's the time to do it. Just, pick up the phone and get out. Do whatever you have to do. Call the Aftermath Foundation and they'll help you. They'll go pick you up at the airport or the bus stop and pick you up and help you out. Anyway, shall we move on, Karen?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Anyway, everybody, so that's the end of that subject. I know it's a heavy subject and it's, it can be very hard to hear, but, we think it's important to let people know, what happened and what's going on, right? But we're going to go to question and answers. We're going to start answering your questions in the chat. If you have a question, please write question and I can spot it and I can star it so I can ask it. If you want to super chat us or super sticker us, we really appreciate the support. It's very well appreciated. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and go into, we have a few questions here and I'll try and catch up. It's, hold on a sec here.
Goldie, I just want to say, Goldie, that was a very good post. The elderly, it's very, very good that you put that there, Goldie. Well done.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so this is totally on a different subject. Goldie asked, Stacy was a Scientology twin, not a biological twin, right? Yeah, that's correct. That's correct, Goldie. Stacy Young, Stacy Brooks was my twin in the RPF. And basically, in order to get through the RPF program, you're twinned up with somebody that's at a similar case level as you, and you basically have to get each other through the program so that you can graduate. And Stacy and I bonded during that, and I was close to her all the way up until she had to end up settling with Scientology with Bob Minton, and I haven't heard from her since, which is unfortunate because I still consider her a friend. And if you're out there watching this, Stacy, you can reach out anytime because even if you want to stay under the radar, I'd love to speak with you.
I can send you her
Stacey,
Facebook.
Right?
Yes, of course. I can send you her Facebook address.
Oh, so, fabulous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I could reach out to her. Okay, great. We got a super sticker from Sheila. Thank you so much, Sheila. We really appreciate the support on that. And then this is a super chat from Betsy Crutcher. Thank you so much, Betsy. All my love, Mark. Well, all my love to all you and all the people that are watching here. We really appreciate it. And then another super chat. Parallel Jen, love and hugs, Mark. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And same to Karen, love and hugs to Karen too. And we really appreciate all that she does and everything else. Anyway, if you've got any other questions, go ahead and get in there. We don't have too much more left here. But if you've got a question, go ahead and ask. We've got quite a few people in here. I'll tell you what I will do. All right now. We'll do a giveaway of one of Janice's books, okay? And we'll do that real quickly here. And if you want to win one of Janice's books, go ahead and get into the chat, okay? And this is her book here, Commoner's Messenger, Book 1, Child Adrift in Scientology Sea Organization, okay? And go ahead and get in there and just say, book me or me, or whatever. And I'll just randomly pick somebody. And we will send you one of Janice's books and autographed. It'll be autographed to you. Okay. So I'm just going to wait here a second here. Everybody get in the chat. I don't see anybody there yet. I know there's a time delay. Here we go. Now we're getting some people in here. Okay. And if you'd like, Karen, would you please count down from 5 and I will pick somebody at the end after you go 1. Okay.
Can I just blurt out something before I do this countdown? I look at this picture, I get almost goosebumps because you see that brown door at the back of Jenny and Hubbard. Do you see that brown door?
Yeah.
I used to walk through that door 1,000 times and would turn immediately left. And I spent a year and a half of my life in the cabin immediately behind that door. It's so funny to look at something where you're looking at a picture of in bygone days, you were there and you live.
Yeah.
So I look at that door and I think how many times I turned left. Yeah. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
No, that's
So
okay.
count
It's allowed more people to get in the chat here. Okay.
Excellent.
So that's good.
Excellent.
So anyway, if you want to go ahead and count down from 5, and then I'll randomly pick somebody. Okay.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, Betsy Crutcher. Betsy Crutcher, book me, please. Congratulations, Betsy. And here's what you need to do in order to get your book. All right. If you would send an email to janicegillamgrady@gmail.com, send her your name, your address, and your email address, and also what you would like autographed into the book. Okay. And we will ship it off to you, and we'll get you that book for you. So congratulations, janicegillamgrady@gmail.com. Congratulations there, Betsy. You won the book. Okay. We've got a few more questions here now, so I can get going on that. All right. Righty here. I did that. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Michael Feldman, question for Karen. Here, let me take down Janice's book. Here we go. Okay. Question for Karen. Did you feel the e-meter was an accurate and valuable tool when you were auditing? Do you still feel that way? Also, do you still feel the L rundowns were very beneficial?
The e-meter is something police departments use. It's just a different version of a polygraph, which, certain courts, polygraphs aren't even admitted in courts because they can sometimes be accurate, sometimes not. I can tell you 1,000 people that have fooled the e-meter. The e-meter can be, I think Aaron has some hilarious anecdotes. So, is it accurate? It's as accurate as any police polygraph. In fact, they rule you out as a homicidal maniac if you pass your polygraph with the police. That's how much law enforcement regard the e-meter. So that's question 1.
Mm-hmm.
Question 2.
Do you still feel the L rundowns are very beneficial?
The L rundowns have very clever questions. And people can get some nice, wow, I never thought of that. Let me give you a couple of sample questions just to show you. However, that being said, any wins on the L's is transitory. That means there is no sustainability. You don't get L's and now you're in a higher strata or level for the rest of your life. You will get a heart attack after having 3 L's as much as anybody in the general population. You will get cancer of the colon and cancer of the prostate and cancer of the lungs as much as anybody. So the L's do not bulletproof you against anything anyone will give you in the general population. Your wife will divorce you just as fast as whether you had L's or not had L's. So do you get where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
The L's will give you a little bump. Let me give you a sample L question on L10. What lie were you made to believe? Challenging question. Give it thought. What lie did you swallow? Did you swallow that you were a humanoid that Eventually he just lied as a dead body with the maggots eating. What lie? What was the lie that you swallowed? That there was a God, that there was not a God? What was the lie that you swallowed? What lie did you make another person believe? So this switches now to, who did you gaslight? Who did you indoctrinate? That's just a sample question. Another L question is, what is the worst thing you ever did to someone in your whole existence? I think it says on the whole track, because Scientology believes you, which I still believe, and I believe before I got into Scientology, that you reincarnate, that the soul is immortal, that the
Right.
soul, it's only the body that dies, right? So the question is, what is the worst thing you ever did to another person? Ever? Challenging thought, challenging question. So do the L rundowns give you a little more awareness and ask you great questions? Sure. Do they last does that initial surge in, oh wow, I never thought of that before? Thank you, Michael, for asking those questions.
I was going to comment just on the e-meter. I agree with you completely that it's a tool, right? Because if you're cooperating, if you're a person getting auditing and you're cooperating with your auditor and you're going along with whatever the questions are, the meter is a good tool in order to be able to spot things, right? But it's different in sec checking or when confessionals, like you said, where people would try to fool the meter, right? Because there are many times when I'm cooperating and the auditor would help me find something by saying, what did you just think of? And it was reading on the meter, right? That. And a thought would come into my head about what I was thinking of. And I would have maybe just a small piece. And then I would start to open up and more, the picture would become more clear, right? So it was a tool, but it also was something that could be abused and also something that could be fooled, like you said.
In my last few months in Scientology, I knew they were adversarial. I knew that this holding the cans, this wasn't for my benefit. It was purely intelligence.
Right.
And the way they worded those questions was to trap me. So I completely fooled the e-meter, and I became very leery and cautious of what I told them. Let me give you an example. I had a boyfriend and we were engaged. This was a serious relationship. It lasted 2-3 years. And the questions was, well, did he help you out paying a credit card? And I said, yes. And they said, and you were sleeping with him, right? So the implication was I was having sex to get a credit card paid off. And
Right.
sure enough, years later, they put up her site. She was a prostitute mistress.
Yeah.
Do you see?
No,
They will spin, elaborate, magnify, alter anything to smash your reputation
absolutely.
because you're speaking out. This is the
That's
vengeance of Scientology. God help you. I want to tell you, if you walk into the door of a Scientology church, you're going to be screwed sooner or later.
Right there.
You're walking into danger. This is a ruthless entity that will punish you, badmouth you, put out horrific statements when you leave and speak out. Mark?
Okay. I just wanted to say we'll go on to the next thing here. This is from our book winner, Betsy Crutcher. Yay! Okay. And she also says, yes, thank you, Goldie. I was kissing my dog and jumping up and down. Well, Betsy, we're so happy that you won the book. I just wanted to share that reaction. And now also Betsy sent a super sticker to you, Karen. Love and hugs to Karen too. So thank you.
Up
Congratulations,
to you,
Betsy.
Betsy. Thank
We
you.
appreciate that. Another thing I wanted to mention is we have a new member to our channel. Juanita Pyle joined as a YouTube member to our channel. And you too can also join. All you have to do is hit that join button on our YouTube homepage on a laptop, computer, or an Android phone. Just hit that join button and then follow the instructions. And there's lots of different levels and different perks that you can win. And it really helps support our channel. And if you have an iPhone, what you have to do is you have to go through Google Chrome. You have to get to YouTube through Google Chrome, and then the join button will show up when you go to YouTube on your iPhone. So anyway, Juanita, welcome to the membership. We really appreciate that support. Okay, and I just did that one. Okay,
I want to tell you, because I'm educated on, I want to tell you that many more people could have joined. YouTube only choose a random person to inform you. So it's not like only one person joined in the last hour. You could have had a dozen people join, but YouTube doesn't inform
it's
you
not the
every single
subscribers.
person.
This is not the subscribers. This is our membership where they actually
membership.
sign up and member.
Okay.
Yeah,
that clarifies it. Thank you, Mark.
he's a member. Okay. We have 3 different levels. We have appealing supporter, we have appealing professional, and appealing master. And appealing masters get a copy of Janice's book autographed. We do one-on-one live streams with them. Appealing professionals get one of the canvas bags that we have. An appealing supporter, they get some little perks as well. And it's just all another way for people to support our channel. And we've got something else here. We've got another super chat from Anon A. Thanks for sharing your story, Karen. I hope you can find Heber and he speaks out about things.
Thank you, Anon A. Heber is in when people are progressing towards terminal, like we mentioned with Annie Broker, they are removed from IntBase. IntBase doesn't want the bad PR of someone dying. So Heber is off base in a nursing home, or I don't think it's a hospice, but it's a home for older people who can't take care of themselves. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've heard Norman Stark is there too.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're just getting older and older. You know, it's just too bad. Okay, let me go on here. I've got several questions here now that I'm just catching up while you were answering that. Okay, here we go. Thank you for that, Anane. We appreciate that super chat. And here's a question here. A question for Karen from David Fenwick. Karen, if you would, can you please share your thoughts about Pierre Etier, and can you tell any vivid memories you may have of him? Thank you.
Pierre was a colorful character. I knew him well from the Flag Land Base. But
can I say one thing real quick? I knew him when he worked in the Hourglass, which was the restaurant at the Fort Harrison Hotel. He was a waiter in there. Yeah, a waiter, steward, and Abdel Rabaj was the maitre d', right? But when Ned for Ortiz came out, he was gathered because he spoke multiple language, and he got trained to be a New Aerodynamics for Ortiz auditor, and then his tech training went off from there. So that's how I know him. But go ahead, Karen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so he could audit the L's in like 7 languages. It's unheard of for someone to even be able to audit in two I used to audit L's in French and English because I'm bilingual, but Pierre did 7 languages, and he eventually would just audit. This was his life. He would be in doing counseling. And the little story I have for you, as you request, is he wanted a woman, a girl in his life, a natural thing. You want a partner. And he did something daring, unheard of in the Sea Org. He found a woman on the internet from, was it Romania or Bulgaria or whatever? And he shipped her in and he married her. It was a sort of love interest he found on the internet, and he married her. Now, the Sea Org have very strict rules of non-Sea Org cannot live on base. So he was under a committee of evidence, and he was being, see, they needed him because who else could audit L's in Portuguese? Only Pierre Etier. They couldn't beat him up in RPF because the PCs were here from Portugal, and only Pierre was able to deliver what Italian, French, Spanish, Norwegian, Swedish. So he was under enormous pressure, and in all the turmoil of the pressure, he got on his motorbike and drove off, but very mentally distraught. So what happened? He had a major accident. He slid off his motorbike and he badly injured his ankle. Throughout and then eventually he just got out. He and the wife left, but that ankle never healed. They would give him antibiotics. They would try to fix the bone. And throughout the last 10 years of Pierre's life, he would have a flaring emergency where the same ankle they had done surgery on, had another issue and another. So it started off with him feeling completely oppressed and suppressed in marrying the girl who came from Europe. He had a major motorcycle accident and he never recovered. And then eventually, but Canada has free health, and he had the advantage of a free health system that handled all his things. And then he passed, I think, a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Okay, David, thank you for that question. We've got this is a super sticker from Juanita Pyle, our new member. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And I've got a couple of comments here for you, Karen. Here you go. This is from Linda P. Golan, also a member of our channel. Comment, Karen and Jeff are the SP power couple.
I love it. Thank you, Linda. Thank you.
And then another comment from Danielle Chamberlain, and she says, Nev says an expensive bump when you were talking about the L's being a bump. Neville Chamberlain is who she's talking about. I think you know who Neville is, right?
Yes, Karen? I absolutely do. Hello, Danielle. Yeah. Lovely to meet you. I know if Neville is your dad, I know him from the 1970s.
He's watching right now. So anyway, he says, Neville says that the L's you said was a bump. He says it was an expensive bump. I remember back in the day it was $10,000 per L. It's got to be much more expensive than that.
Oh, right? Let me tell you, on the flagship Apollo, you could have all three L's for $7,500, $2,500 for each L. Of course, that was 1970s money, which maybe $2,500 then was more. But now you must pay them $100,000. Now, we know the price of living has gone up, but $7,500 to $100,000, and $100,000 may cover only one L10. So it's a cash cow. It's an absolute cash cow for Scientology. Mm-hmm.
Okay, next question here from Dastardly Saboteur, another member of our channel. Question, Karen, any interest in writing a book?
You know, I've told my story in 500 plus videos on my channel. Can you pull it up, Mark? I have a YouTube channel called Surviving Scientology. I've got over 500 and maybe 40 videos on the channel. It's been up for 10 years. And in 10 years, I have 13 million views. So you do the math. That's over 1 million views every year. Visit my channel. 10-year channel, 13 million views. And I tell my entire life story. But to answer your question, the writer in my family is Jeff. He has a degree and master's in literature and this and that, and he's a writer. So he started a book, and now that he's a licensed private investigator, he is deluged with work, and the book is on the back burner. But it starts off with us being in law enforcement office with LAPD, and LAPD discussing Alexander's death, and me trying to educate LAPD that the cult is a cult of vengeance and have been vengeful on me, program after program after program. She's a prostitute. She's an auditor. She's a Russian spy. I'm a prostitute auditor. She's a Scientologist. This latest video over the radio. She's a Scientologist. After 500 views and 13 million people being educated on the darker side of Scientology, this new thing is she's a hidden Scientologist. That I would continue to be in Scientology after they virtually killed my son is just beyond belief.
Yeah. I was going to make a comment. Danielle Chamberlain said, Neville's her husband, not her dad. You wouldn't know that.
Danielle. Oh, okay. Okay.
And Goldie put up your channel address on
that's cool.
in the chat too. So.
Yes. Daniel, Neville, I give you a warm hug. We go back a long ways together. And I so enjoyed your interview with Mark and Janice on your Sea Org days. And boy, did you had quite a life, Neville. You had quite a life.
Okay, let me go on to the next question here. And this is also for Karen. And hold on here. Here we go. From Michael Feldman again. Question for Karen. In your opinion, who was the best Class 12 auditor? Excluding you, of course. Smile.
I don't think you could. Getting to Class 12 is brutal. Brutal. You have to perform nonstop. You have to be perfect. You have to do a minimum of 50 hours of perfect, very well done sessions, video cameras, no day off, virtually no pay. I feel sorry for doctors in residency that have to do 12-hour days before they can take a break. Well, these were 14 to 16-hour days, training for perfection. So I don't think one could choose one of. Everybody went through you went through the ringer, and when you came out, you were as good as the next guy because you had all experienced the same arduous pathway. Yep. So, Michael, I don't think you could choose one above another. I do know that I won many awards as Auditor of the Year, and there are issues about me over and over, but I don't think one could pick one above another. Thank you for the question.
Right. Next, Betsy Crutcher. If all these ex-Scientologies are such horrible people, then what does that say about the kind of people Scientology produces? That's an excellent question, Betsy. It's a bunch of crap.
After being years and years and years in the cult and getting all their wondrous therapy and tech, everyone who comes out is a child molester, a drug peddler, a pedophile, a promiscuous woman you should spit on because they just were committing adultery. That was Amy Scobie's label.
Right.
Every single person, they still have a site on Marty Rathburn, though he did videos for them, calling him a psychopath, a mental, vicious psychopath. So Marty did his 35 years, and what did they produce? A vicious, violent psychopath. If you go to Who is Marty Rathburn, you'll see this. So in the never land of Scientology, Marty is doing videos for them while they still have a site calling him the ultimate liar. But yet they have him on their freedom site. Go figure.
I know. Crazy. Okay, we're getting down here too. We got a couple more questions here. Here we go. Here. This is from, I can never pronounce this, Tweet La Huac Rivas. Question: Jeffrey Filbert, author of Excalibur Revisited, said that he developed the L rundowns. Does Karen know about that?
No data on that. No data on that.
Yeah.
Well, of course he didn't develop the L. The L rundowns were done. We studied every research session with Hubbard's thing, so that's completely false. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I experienced the evolution of the L's.
Yeah.
L11 was really the result of a madman. We had a guy on the ship called Bruce Welch who had a complete mental, he had a meltdown, and he grabbed a carving knife from the kitchen and he was running through the corridors of the Apollo screaming that he was going to stab LRH. He's going to kill LRH. He's going to kill LRH. Kill. And Sea Org members contained him, jumped on him, locked him in a cabin. And Hubbard was told, Bruce Welch was what we called a snipe. A snipe is an engineer. There was a bunch, about 12 of them, who were totally responsible for the engineering part of the ship. Bruce was one of them. And of course, it's very dangerous to have someone announcing their urge to kill when you're contained on a vessel. You're sort of imprisoned, especially on the high seas. There's no land, so what Mary Sue wanted, the execs, was to just dump him at the nearest port, get rid of this madman. But Hubbard said, no. If we claim we are masters of the mind, we have to at least make him sane. He's an American, and the first thing they'll do is throw him in a mental institution if they get him. So Hubbard became pen friends of Bruce Welch. And they were writing each other notes. And every morning, for us to study the origins of L11, we had to study this pen friendship of the would-be killer and Hubbard. And Hubbard would ask him questions. Hey, Bruce, just before you wanted to kill me, just before you had the urge and intention to kill, what happened? What happened just before? And Bruce would... This went back and forth. Anyway, long story short, and Bruce was so violent. The bunk beds were made of iron. And they say one madman has the strength of 10 ordinary men. When you've got that kind of adrenaline, he could bend the iron of the bunk beds in this cabin as he screamed and ranted and raved. And he had to be under watch. I think people were scared he'd bust out of that cabin and come after. This is a man who's saying he wants to kill. And poor Mike Rinder, who had just arrived on the ship, one of Mike Rinder's first jobs was to be Bruce Welch's bodyguard outside, a few hours a day on a shift, and then the next person. So Mike Rinder's welcome to the Sea Org was being outside the cabin of this madman. Long story short, the long and the short of it is, after 3 to 4 weeks of the pen friendship, Bruce clicked back into normality. And he was safe. He didn't want to kill. And Shortly after he was offloaded, though, when you've had that kind of absolute meltdown mentally, the odds are that could happen again. So he
Yeah.
was gone from the ship. But Hubbard compiled everything that happened with Bruce and him and made it into a profitable rundown called L11.
Wow.
And people that buy L11 don't know they're basically running the rundown that came out of Bruce Welch's madness. One of
Wow.
the key questions of L11 is, what evil purpose do you have? What's the evil purpose that you have lurking in your soul that is suppressed? Now, I want to tell you that 99% of the population that buy L11 do not have the urge to kill like Bruce
No.
Welch. They're running something that was simply a synopsis of Bruce Welch's experience on the Apollo. There you go.
Okay.
I can save you $25,000. You got L11 in a nutshell. Save your
There you go.
$25,000.
Okay, we've got another question here from Betsy Crutcher. It's another super chat. Thank you, Betsy. Question from Tassie. Isn't dying just dropping the body? Why the secrecy? You're right. It is. I mean, Scientology's point of view, you're just dropping your body. I don't know why they keep it secret other than public relations, like not telling staff that Annie Broker had died. You know, when Mary Sue Hubbard died, they didn't make any announcement about that, even though she had been supporting Hubbard almost all of her life. So it's more for public relations, I think. What do you think, Karen?
I don't like this Scientology phrase, dropping the body. You basically, you become bigger than your body. When you come out of your body, you are bigger than the confines of the dimensions of your body.
Yeah.
And you leave. Better wording would be you simply leave the body. You don't drop it down like a sack of potatoes. You're not dropping it. You very often lying down in a hospital bed or in a bed at home, you're not dropping anything.
Right.
You just move out of the parameters of the body, and you are external. If you believe this, and we're not preaching here, you don't have to believe. There could be atheists watching this. You can believe what you want to believe, but death is simply, what I believe, is simply you becoming bigger than the body and leaving the body and going outside the body.
Yep.
Goldie
has a good observation.
Yes.
Believe
yes.
whatever. Oh, sorry. No, not that. That's not what there was. Where is it? Here it is. I was clicking on it. It moved. I think the illness is the part they really want to hide. The fact that somebody got ill with cancer. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. That's one of the reasons why they don't say somebody died, because they don't want to say why they died.
And part of Scientology's urge to cover all this up is they've taken megabucks from you to make you a superhuman. The EPN phenomena of Dianetics, which is way low down the great chart before Scientology, is you are a happy, healthy human being, free from all pain, somatics, body problems. That's just, you're supposed to achieve that in Dianetics. You're not supposed to get headaches every 3 weeks after doing Dianetics, but you got they took gobs of money to handle your Dianetic case, which is your body case. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We got 2 more questions here, and then we'll end off here. Gamer Jackie's question: how can they have the audacity to charge freeloader debt and call anyone from a Sea Org a freeloader when you work nonstop and barely get paid for what work? It's crazy. You just answered your own question. It is crazy. You work all that time and all that, and you get paid nothing. And when you leave, by the way, we're going to charge you for all the services that you took.
Scientology is a money extortion racket. Yeah. And the blackmail they use on you is you will not be in good standing if you don't pay up. the freeloader bill. You will not be able to have friends. You will not be able to be employed by a Scientology company, and so on and so forth. Now, I got to tell you, due to internet exposure all over the place, I got to tell you, they've toned down this. In fact, they don't even like to send it to you on writing because people put up their freeloader bills and mock it on the internet. So they're a little bit hiding. They want the money, but they don't want to send you an itemized bill in fear that you'll post it on the internet.
Yep.
Good question, Gamer.
Yeah, our final question, Tassie Devil. Question, do CR members get to do L rundowns, or are they just for public Scientologists?
Oh, no. This is a cash cow. If you don't have money, although sometimes CO members get an inheritance, and they grab that inheritance and make the person do the L's and get the cash. This is only if you have cash. Cash! Money! You pay! Staff members don't have money to pay for L's. I don't think of any staff member that got L's. It doesn't exist.
No. Okay, well, we want to ask everybody, please subscribe to our channel. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. About a third of the people who watch our videos are not subscribers, but please do so. You'll like our videos, and go back and watch our old videos too, because we tell the history of what happened in Scientology before, and also about the abuses that are going on. And this is our channel. That's the address for our channel on YouTube. Okay. Also, if you want to become a member, like the earlier person who joined, you can become a member of our channel. Just click on the join button on our channel homepage and just follow the instructions, and we'll go with that. And then also, if you have any other questions that we didn't get a chance to answer, ask in the comment section on the video. Janice and I check them all the time, and we will answer your questions there. Karen, we want to thank you for being our special guest today. I know Janice would second that motion. She's up in San Jose having a good old time, but she'll be back on Monday. Karen, do you have anything else you'd like to say before?
I would like to thank Goldie for the moderation and her great questions. Thanks, Goldie.
Absolutely.
I'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Anyway, we want to thank you all for you're welcome, Karen. And also thank you to all of our viewers and the people who are watching here. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast, and we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.